As my A10 Thunderbolt touches down on Everon's rugged airstrip, you can faintly hear the sounds of nearby St. Phillippe off in the distance. And as the dust kicks up from the tarmac, we're reminded just how bare bones this airfield really was back in 2001. Much like the brand new Everon, the original Everon Airport featured one primary runway with a single taxiway branching off. At the end of that taxiway though, not much. Just a couple of scattered buildings, no hangars, no air traffic control tower, and only a modest fuel station for aerial resupply. From the north side, you really get a sense of how open and minimalistic this base was. It served its function back in the day, but for today's standards, it's far from immersive. Now here's that same view 24 years later. In Arma Reforger, Everon Airport has been fully rebuilt. Nestled into the center is a full-scale hangar, an ATC tower, all merged into that scenic tree line that was there since 2001. Behind the runway, Reforger introduces an entirely new industrial zone, a logistical hub complete with shipping containers, fuel tanks, warehouses, and support infrastructure. In the original Cold War assault, a small dirt road ran along the east side of the runway. It led to a small town named Tyrone. That same dirt road could still be found in Arma Reforger, and it still leads to the same small town of Tyrone. Over the west side, there's now a clearly defined gateway into St. Phillippe, an extension that gives the town a more grounded connection to the airport. This used to be just a couple of buildings on the west side end of the runway. At the southern end of Everon Airport lies a town that was once just a little more than a blip on the map, the original St. Phillippe. In Operation Flashpoint, this area was sparse, a cluster of basic homes, and a lot of open beach. Quiet, empty, forgotten. But in Arma Reforger, St. Phillippe has been reborn. No longer just a few scattered buildings, it's a fully realized town with life, character, and history built into its streets. Looking back at the original, you can see how much space was left untouched. There were no sidewalks, no street detail, no verticality, just roads and rectangles. Now the town is alive with detail. A beautiful church anchors the center of St. Phillippe, brickstone roads wind between structures, sidewalks, signs, lampposts. It feels like a real European coastal town. The buildings themselves are updated too. No longer generic, they have a purpose. Some look residential, others commercial or municipal. Every corner tells a story. And then there's the waterfront. Reforger introduces a brand new harbor. Complete with a wooden pier that stretches out into the sea, it's a perfect addition for naval gameplay or just scenic immersion. Just off the coast, a lighthouse now stands guard over the shoreline. It's a subtle touch, but one that gives St. Phillippe even more identity. A visual anchor that didn't exist in 2001. Next up is coastal base Morton, a quiet shoreline town that in 2001 felt more like an afterthought than a tactical stronghold. Flying over this area in Cold War assault, you get a sense of minimalism. A basic road, a few scattered buildings, and that ever-present feeling of open, undeveloped space. Driving through the town, there's little that stands out. A simple church, a few blocky houses, scattered trees, a grassy hill that fades quietly into the beachfront. There are no guardrails, no defining infrastructure, and the shoreline itself, empty. No piers, no detail, just a flat edge to the sea. Fast forward to Reforger, and this is what coastal base Morton has become. A fully realized coastal village that feels alive, deliberate, and strategically important. The roads are smoother, the trees are more organic, guardrails line the corners and hills, adding not just realism, but texture. Public features like bus stops and telephone booths hint the town's civilian character. And the church? Now a towering landmark. Beautifully modeled with aged stone surrounded by utility poles and roadside details that breathe life into the town. Much like St. Phillippe, the once empty coast has been replaced by a dynamic marine zone. Multiple piers stretch over hundreds of feet into the sea, giving the whole area a new identity. A fishing town, a staging ground, maybe even a naval checkpoint. And perhaps most importantly, Morton now features a full harbor, a critical addition for base building and logistics in Arma Reforger's PvP modes. Coastal Morton was once a footnote, now it's a focal point. From a blank canvas to a rich, versatile background, Reforger brings this town to life in ways we could have only imagined back in 2001. Now we make our way to the quiet little town of Levie, a name many Arma players recognize, but few probably remember its humble beginnings. In 2001, Levie was nothing more than a flyover town. A handful of buildings, one single intersection, and a large barn off to the side. As I drive through it in the original game, the simplicity is almost surreal. Just 4 or 5 buildings and a stretch of grass. It was never meant to be a hotspot. It just existed. But in Arma Reforger, Levie has been reimagined. Stonework buildings now line the roads, masonry architecture, carefully designed driveways, telephone booths, working streetlights, and clean sidewalks make it feel like an actual functioning village. The trees and shrubbery give it a natural, organic feel, not just placed assets, but part of the landscape. And then there's that Y intersection. If you played any PvP in Arma Reforger, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. That sudden roadblock, that detour, that moment of panic when you realize you're about to hit a hedgehog. Oh! Yeah, that one. Nearby, a visitor center adds another layer of world building, complete with a map of Everon as if tourists or survivors might actually pass through here. From above, you'll spot more signs of life and conflict. One building appears to have taken a direct hit, partially destroyed, cracked open like a reminder of the wars that have come through here. Across the road, a burnout vehicle tells the rest of the story. Next, we fly over one of the island's oldest military installations, Military Base Levie. Back in the day, this base was as bare bones as they come. With just a handful of structures sitting on open tarmac, no towers, no walls, just enough to say it was there, but not enough to call it fortified. There's a paved strip running through the base, a tiny repair shop tucked into the corner, one helipad on standby, but otherwise, nothing but open space. But now in Arma Reforger, Military Base Levie is a whole different beast. The number of buildings has nearly tripled, barracks, garages, storage structures, all laid out in an organized tactical grid. The barracks have been completely reworked, now 2-story structures with real architectural detail, streetlights line the road, the update guard post actually looks like it could stop somebody, and much like the town of Levie nearby, the base now features mason pavement, natural landscaping, and overall sense of purpose. It feels like a functioning military site, not just a placeholder on the map. And then there's this, a massive open area towards the center and back of the base. In PvP modes, this space becomes crucial. Helipads, maintenance points, vehicle depots, it's a blank canvas for base building, and a tactical stronghold for whichever side holds it. Military Base Levie used to be an empty tarmac with a few buildings slapped on it. Now, it's a living, breathing military compound, and one of the most versatile zones on Everon. We're now flying over St. Pierre, a coastal town on the southern edge of Everon. In the original Cold War assault, it was a little more than a quiet finish line to the island's main north-south road. Only a dozen or so buildings line the shore. With grassy fields fading into beach, it felt like the edge of civilization. A simple two-way intersection cutting west from the main stretch, the only bit of infrastructure hinting that this place was once lived in. But in Arma Reforger, St. Pierre has undergone a transformation. Gone is the sleepy ghost town. In this place, a bustling coastal village with a complex road system. There are now dozens of intersections, 10 or more, with winding paths, offshoots, and roundabout-style traffic loops. The beachfront is gone, replaced by a full-scale harbor stretching into the sea, adding both visual character and strategic functionality. St. Pierre's streets are lined with crosswalks, telephone booths, benches, flower beds, commercial shops, and updated residential homes. There's life here now, a town with history and personality. At the center of town, a roundabout-like plaza acts as a community hub, complete with a tourist map, benches, and nearby eateries. And then there's this, some kind of tree with some blue fruit on it. Yeah, I don't know. If anybody watching this knows what this is, can you please let me know in the comments? Beyond the town center lies the port, filled with cranes, shipping containers, logistical offices, and other industrial props that give the town real depth. On the edge of town, tucked away near the tree line, is a quiet graveyard with a small chapel, another detail that brings world building into the environment. Up in the hills west of St. Pierre stands an old castle ruin, another location that's been completely overhauled. In Cold War assault, the castle was simple. Blocky stonework, basic walls, a dirt road leading to a crumbling fortress weathered by time and war. Even so, its position at the top of the mountain gave it power, and a sweeping view of St. Pierre and the coast below. But in Reforger, this castle feels real. Built into the stone of the mountain, with layered walls and architectural weight, the site has been converted into a tourist stop, with picnic tables, a small food stand, trash bins, umbrellas, and even an info board. Whether it's a battlefield or a tourist attraction, this castle now commands presence. A dramatic lookout point, a defensive stronghold, and a historic marker on the island of Everon. Everon may have changed, but its legacy still runs deep, in every town, every road, every mission. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and sub for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.